Well, thank you for being here, Roland. And just for our audience, I want to let them know that I'll be on here with you, posing a few questions, and then letting you roll or run with it. I'm not good with the football metaphors. I just want to start by saying, Roland, as everybody just heard, you didn't hear this part, you were born in Rochester's 19th Ward. You graduated from the Rochester City School District, attended Syracuse University. You went on to become Rochester's first and only Super Bowl champion. You are a successful entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and perhaps most importantly, a champion for children, raising 3 boys of your own and founding and leading the Champion Academy Extreme Mentoring Program. So my question is, with all that you have going on, what keeps you so connected and inspired to be such a strong champion for Rochester?
Well, what a great question. You clearly have done your research, Karen. I think the reality is, to whom much is given, much is required. In our hometown of Rochester, New York, there is so few examples of individuals who look like me, who come from Genesee Street and have a chance to accomplish some of the things I have. And so for me, coming back was an obligation. I believe there's an unlimited potential inside of Rochester, in particular with our young people. I think there's great opportunities to help tear down generational curses and turn them into generational opportunities. And so I come back. I have family members who were there. My father still lives in Rochester. And especially now, I think those who care about Rochester in a meaningful way, it's time to get involved and to stand up and make a difference.
Thank you. So, Roland, as you know, we got the shocking news last week of the death of Daniel Prude in police custody. You live in LA, so you've seen this unfold from a unique position. Tell us your perspective from where you sit.
It's been a lot. In addition to this global pandemic we're facing, it seemed clear that this was also the time for another pandemic to be exposed, whether it was Minnesota or Wisconsin or Atlanta, Georgia, or wherever it is. From my vantage point as a Black male who's experienced his fair share of racism and challenges, to me, it was a symptom of a larger challenge. It was one more confirmation of the symptom of the challenges of police brutality and all the subsets of racism that leads there. And so when you talk about the word symptom, that's a sign of something. That's an indicator of something. And I believe that when police officers go above and beyond, when they're nonchalant with certain type of people, there's an origin, and it starts from their young ages, teenager, it goes all the way into these actions. And so I think that's one. The other one that was very interesting to me, Karen, which opens up, this is called Brave Spaces. So this is a safe place to talk about it.
Yes.
I watched Wisconsin. I watched Minnesota. I watched every place. And the issue comes down to accountability and behavior of people that are public servants. But it was interesting here how Rochester, one of the few places that has a Black chief of police and a Black mayor, that the narrative here from the outside looking in seemed like the impetus got away from the actual officers who committed the crime, but it was more of a indictment on those two people. And so I thought that was interesting in the midst of all this racial sensitivity. It was odd that no one else got called for all these resignations and things happening in Rochester. It was something that has been at what we've seen from the outside at the tip of the sword, right, in regards to causing change.
Yeah. Thank you, Roland. I want to just take a minute and say to the audience of hundreds, literally, that you have an opportunity to pose some questions as well. So please make sure that you put those in there's a Q&A box. Please put those in there and we will put them in front of Roland, because again, when Roland and I got a chance to talk with each other recently, we said, let's have a conversation, a brave conversation. So I'm going to ask you the next question, but again, I'm asking people, please put your questions to Roland as well. So Roland, one of the amazing things about your NFL career is that you played for an NFL team that went from worst to first in 1 year. What lessons from that transformation do you think could be applied to our current situation?
So many. Our mentoring program is called the Champion Academy. We help hundreds of some of our challenged teams maximize their potential and go from challenge to opportunity. And so we talk about these principles often, and it's so ironic that these very principles apply directly to where we are now as a union, as a community. The first one, and we divide it up into 5 components, and we call them mental muscles, things that we must activate inside of our minds and spirits in order to start this transformative process. The first one is called unbreakable belief. The ability to believe that you can have greatness around the corner despite challenge and past failures. In Rochester right now, we've gone through a lot. And those who know Rochester, as we go in a brave space, we know that issues of segregation, issues of racism, issues of sexism, anti-Semitism, the list goes on and on, have existed in Rochester for a very long time. And so when one thing happens that triggers a conversation, you cannot have a conversation about one thing without having the entire conversation. And so what we have to believe is that we can handle it. We can handle this moment and step into a new Rochester, but it starts with our belief in our own mind. The second piece is called the ultimate truth muscle. You see, we have to be honest. We have to talk about where we've been. We have to talk honestly about what does it look like when we're all getting along. And then we have to talk about what are the specific steps to get there. That's the truth. The third one is called the conscious courage muscle. You see, once you get a game plan and you understand here's what we have to do to be better, do we have the courage to execute? Do I have the courage to stand up and to say something when I see racism around me or sexism around me? Do I have the courage to look at myself in a meaningful way? It takes courage to do that. And sometimes it's not going to be comfortable. Fourth is called the intentional.
Sorry, everybody. We're having some technical difficulties with Roland's connection. I think he will be trying to call us again. In the meantime, I will ask you to put any questions that you have for us in the chat box or the Q&A box. And we'll hold for just a moment. Our technicians are hard at work trying to figure out how we can get him back onto the call. So sorry. These are the challenges that we have, obviously, as we're operating in this virtual world. All right. Well, while we're waiting, I'm going to move to what I was going to be saying on my part. To thank a lot of people for today. So I want to start by thanking all of our speakers, Eric Ward, Roland, who we hope we can get back on soon, all of our presenters from the various workshops. From what I could see, standing in, what is this called, Mission Control. It looked like there was a lot of great engagement, a lot of people involved in the various workshops. So I really thank all of those who put their workshops together. It was, I know, in many cases, I would argue a labor of love, and I greatly appreciate it. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that there is so much work that goes on behind the scenes, and you're probably aware of that, but I specifically want to call attention to the calm presence and attention to detail of Alyssa Bourgeois, who really, if you didn't get an email from her, I would be kind of surprised. She really managed so many of the details and logistics for us. And I also have to thank and call out the engineers and technicians at Cheshire AV, who were unflappable in the face of some technical problems at the beginning of the program and continue to be pretty unflappable as we hope that we can get Roland back on. So I want to, as I look over at them in this mission control room, I want to thank them as well. They've been a delight to work with. And last of all, I would absolutely thank all of you for your participation. It really would not have been what it was were you not in the room, the virtual room with us. So I would ask that you please give us your feedback. We're going to be sending an evaluation out to you shortly. If not today, then first thing tomorrow. Please be honest with us, be brave with us, let us know what worked, what didn't work, and very importantly, what you would like to see coming after. And last of all, we will have on our website some of the programming that we've got planned in the near future. I will point you to one of the first things, which is on Monday, September 21st at 6:30 p.m. We have Talking Circle. We can have up to 100 people, and we would love to have you join us so that you can process much of what went on today. So that information will all be on. And with that, I see the big smile on Roland. I was filling the time. I'm not you, so I'm going to pass it back and see if you can pick up your train of thought. Sorry about that. You were partway through.
No worries.
Taking us through the transformational steps.
Yes, I believe that I stopped the conversation at intentional teamwork. And that is the ability to, on purpose, look for people, places, and things to help us get where we want to go. And last, but certainly not least, it's called passionate perseverance. Just like now, the internet won't stop us. Zoom hiccups won't stop us. Right. We're going to keep our same energy as we pursue greatness and moving forward in our future.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Roland. So I'm going to, speaking of technology, I'm going to scroll myself back to my last question for you.
Okay.
But you know what, I'm going to get to my last one. But first, I want to actually pose a couple that we're getting in the chat box. So one is, we've had a long day of learning and pointing out the work that lies ahead. From your personal perspective, Roland, is there a specifically Rochester idea that you think should be our North Star that moves us forward?
I think big picture, it's about changing our thoughts, our words, our actions. Mm-hmm. For Rochester, I mentioned before that it has been historically one that has been separated, segregated. I think that now more than ever, those that care need to be vocal and proactive in their desire to connect and get to know people who don't look like them. I think now more than ever, those who believe that change, the time for change is now, must not remain silent when they see any of the isms around us. Now more than ever, it's time to hold everyone accountable. It's not one type of people. Everyone who violates laws should be held accountable. It's simple. And I think that the more we start building this true ethos of what America is supposed to be, the better off we will be. Great.
So I have somebody who I'm guessing might know you. They say Big Ro. Tell us about some Champion Academy success stories. Are they a model of anti-racism to be emulated by other groups?
Yes. Yes. When they call me Big Ro, that means clearly they've met me a time or two. I really think that when you start getting individuals, kids that come from very tough neighborhoods, who have only had limited exposure to people who don't look like them outside of controlled environments. I think that having a mentoring program to expose them to the humans that care is transformative. At the Champion Academy, 98% of our students may be Black and Latino of our 300. And in the environment they're in school every day, being sort of underwhelmed by how much people care, most of the people don't look like them. And so at the Champion Academy, we have individuals that come from the medical field, like Dr. Eddie Swartz. I noticed that he's here, showing them that no matter where you come from, you can be successful. One of our students named Raven Jess, get this, started out as a 1.0 student, doing a lot, arguing with teachers, throwing trash cans, off the rails, right? In the Champion Academy, transformation, a 4.0 for 10 consecutive semesters in the RCSD, graduates, goes to MCC, and now is in her first year at RIT, going to be an accountant. If I don't know what a success story, boy, oh boy, I get so excited. So this was made possible by people who were Black, white, Jewish, Christian, every walk of life, gay, straight. This is what life is about. And I believe that this is how we stop hate, is by letting people have success stories that are a collaborative, right? A team thing, in order to help people take a step forward.
Yes. Roland, here's another one. And thank you so much for you're so honest and connecting with us on these. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by hard reality. What is your go-to to stay strong and keep going?
There's so many. I'll go back to one from my grandmother. She passed away some years ago. And she used to always tell me, if you don't think every day's a great day, try missing one. And there has been a history lesson of people overcoming tremendous odds, tremendous adversity, and still holding their heads up high. There's a recent example of Chadwick Boseman, the amazing actor, right?
Yeah.
Who played Black Panther, Jackie Robinson. His whole life was about overcoming. The man had cancer and battled through it with surgeries and everything for years, doing movies, and never complained at all, never told the public at all, because he didn't want to take away from his other actors, want to take away from his work, or take away from. He died courageously with his family, and it makes it so much harder for us to complain about these temporary challenges.
Yeah.
So hard to complain, because our country, although we don't like where it is right now, Karen, in my mind, it's came a long ways.
Yes.
We've come so far, and we have to count how far we've come, not how much we have to go.
Yes. Yes. You know, Roland, you used the word courageously when you were speaking about him, and that was one of the questions somebody asked, can courage be taught?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we do at the Champion Academy. It's about building these mental muscles. You want to learn how to be courageous. Here's how. You learn by doing. Be courageous enough to show up to something like this.
Yes.
Be courageous enough now to take something you've learned, one little nugget, and apply it tonight.
Yeah.
Be courageous enough to watch this again, to be consistent, right? It's you build courage by taking baby steps. By the inch, it's a cinch.
Right. So that's a great last question that I'm going to have for you. And then I would like to leave it open for you to give us some final words. And this is the question. If you could recommend some brave action steps for our audience to take to end hate and help Rochester become better, what would you say?
I would say for us to have a low tolerance for it. It's time for all of us to have a no tolerance policy when it comes to jokes, innuendos, passive aggressive statements or actions with any of the isms that lead to hate. It's time for all of us to start by changing our minds. Then change your heart. Then change what you say and change the people in your house. Because one house can change a neighborhood. One neighborhood can change a town. One town can change a city. One city can change a state. One state can change a nation. One nation can change the world. And so I think the biggest thing we have to do is realize that we have the power. It starts with us, and let's get it going.
Yeah. Thank you, Roland. Any final words?
No, I want to say how proud I am for you and this entire team for having the courage to get outside the box in COVID and not let it be a deterrent to putting in the work.
Yes.
It's actions just like this. It's moments just like this. That is why I'm so optimistic about where we're headed as a community, as a state, and as a nation.
Thank you so much, Roland. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your involvement with us on our steering committee. All the best to you. I know that you all are in some pretty dicey circumstances right now with the fires happening out in California, Oregon, et cetera. So stay safe during this pandemic. Really, thank you so very much for making the time and for being there and really helping us move this work forward. We really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Take care. So I just want to move us on, and I will say that I neglected in my comments, and we changed things up a little bit. We're going to bring in our two co-chairs, Carolyn Nussbaum and Kevin Beckford. But before we do, I also want to acknowledge and thank the Jewish Federation of Greater Rochester for housing this initiative, the Levine Center to End Hate. It's certainly not an initiative that's focused only on the Jewish community, as you can see from today's program, but it is where our program is housed, and we really are guided very much by Jewish values. So thank you so much to the Jewish Federation. And with that, I believe Tiana, our steering committee member who has been emceeing this, will take us to introduce Carolyn and Kevin, and then I will come back with you at the very end for a very, very brief wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland, for that inspiring message. Now I'd like to introduce you to the co-chairs of the Levine Center to End Hate Steering Committee, Carolyn Nussbaum and Kevin Beckford. Carolyn is a partner in the Complex Commercial Disputes Group of Nixon Peabody, LLP, and served as a managing partner of the Rochester office from 2011 to 2017. She was recently president of the Monroe County Bar Association and has also served as president of the Greater Rochester Association for Women Attorneys and the Volunteer Legal Services Project of Rochester. Carolyn serves on the boards of the Rochester Area Community Foundation and is a past president of the Jewish Federation of Greater Rochester. Kevin Beckford is Senior Director of Staff Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Rochester. He served in a variety of progressive operations roles in the corporate, banking, and healthcare industries. He has provided senior and executive level transition and change management consulting services for large, medium, and small companies, and is a champion of diversity, equity, and inclusion in every aspect of the workplace. In November of 2017, Kevin was elected to the Pittsburgh Town Board, the first African American to serve on the board in its more than 200-year history. Before Carolyn and Kevin take the floor, I will say goodbye. Thank you for this opportunity to be your MC for this very meaningful event. Again, please be sure to fill out the survey and share your feedback with us. We look forward to seeing you at future events. Hopefully we can do that in person. Thank you. Carolyn and Kevin.
All right. Can you hear me? Give me the thumbs up. Great. We're good. So I am very proud to be co-chair of the Levine Center to End Hate. As Karen said, this is an initiative of the Jewish Federation of Greater Rochester. The mission of the Levine Center, guided by its steering committee, is to initiate and accelerate education, discussion, and action to eradicate hate from our lives. The steering committee is diverse in age, race, gender, religion, and sexual orientation because this is a community effort. And I want to also give my thanks to the Jewish Federation and the William and Mildred Levine Family Foundation, whose efforts and inspiration to bring the vision of the Center to End Hate to reality is why we're all here today. And of course, I want to thank Karen Elam, who has spent countless nights, weekends, days, bringing this program to a reality as well. No secret that our community and our nation is in crisis. COVID has revealed to all of us that racism is a public health crisis. I was shocked by Eric Ward's statistic that the virus has claimed the life of 1 out of every 1,125 African Americans. That shocks me. I hope it shocks us all. In our own city, Black men die in police custody in horrifying circumstances, and the facts are concealed from the public view for 6 months. Hate and racism that it fosters touches all of us. We heard today how racism and hate isolate us and destroy our community. Racism and hate are destroying Rochester. We're physically isolated by COVID. We can't allow hate to spiritually, emotionally, and economically isolate us as well. Today, we have good reason to worry about the world our children are growing up in and will inherit. What will be our legacy? I will not allow the world we currently inhabit to be my legacy. One speaker that I heard today said it's comfortable to allow the status quo to remain. I challenge that. I'm no longer comfortable allowing the crisis in our community to continue. And I'm no longer comfortable allowing our community to continue as it is. Eric Ward admonished us at the start that generations who came before, who fought for progress, whether as part of the suffragette movement, the civil rights movement, women's rights movement, worked to create a more just society, that they sacrificed to provide us with the opportunities we have today to get to work to create a new democracy. So the question for me is not whether, but rather how. And we heard from Roland some ideas about how, and we heard during other panels as well. And I want to start as well with a quote that Shane Wigan shared, which is, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed that is not faced. So each of us has a role and a responsibility to face what's not comfortable within us personally, individually, and as a community, to acknowledge that, to accept it, including the privileges we may have been born with that are not shared by all. We've got to get beyond our discomfort and come today, just as we have today, to break down the barriers and try to create, once again, a more perfect union. We won't learn to run by running away, as Eric Ward told us, but there is no other option. We have to try. I'm so proud and so privileged to have had the opportunity today to be part of the first step in that collective effort. And I'm so proud and thankful and appreciative of so many. It says we have over 100 right now who joined today and will continue the conversation and the education. Thank you. With that, I will turn it over to my co-chair, Kevin Beckford.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, everyone. I know it's been a long day, but it's been a wonderful day of education and awareness, and hopefully also to move you to action. And one of the things I want to do is, just to echo what Carolyn shared, just to thank, Karen and Tiana and Carolyn, the Levine Center Steering Committee members, just the family of team members that put together this event that you had today. And one of the things I heard in one of my sessions, actually a few sessions, is that This felt like we want more. And so we want you to know there will be more. And so some of the sessions that you're in, when you provide that feedback in the survey that Karen mentioned, that's where you want to make sure you point that out for us so we can take a look at which programs you may want to hold it several times over the course of the next 12 months to be able to give a chance to go even deeper and to really help to create a sense of not just awareness. You know, when you think about our mission, it's very simple. And how do you eliminate hate and to bring our Rochester community together? It's through education, dialogue, and positive action. And so I want to issue a little bit of an action challenge for all of you. First of all, to seek out to educate yourself, your family, your neighbor, your community, and also your workplace. To look for opportunities to be able to build a dialogue and build meaningful relationships, particularly with people that you don't normally get a chance to meet. We're very, very segregated within in Monroe County. And in fact, if you've attended the presentation by Shane Weigand, you'll realize that segregation was part of the structural institutional racism that our whole country is still struggling with to this day, hundreds of years later. And so therefore, just talking to your neighbor is helpful, but you're gonna have to reach out of that circle because in many, many areas, we have very limited diversity of people from different backgrounds. And as Eric mentioned, when you don't have that meaningful personal relationship, we fill in the blanks. And we fill it in with things that aren't necessarily real and not necessarily true and can actually separate us more than bring us together. And then for positive action, it's very simple. It's not enough to be, I'm not a racist. You have to be an anti-racist. And that suggests action. You have to look for ways in every facet of your life, whether it be on your school board, your town board, your work board, work volunteer communities, discussions, when you're at the store, you know, what are the things that are happening around you that it's very easy to miss if you're not the target of oppression. So you want to be able to take that lens that you look through in life and add a new lens of equity that allows you to A, spot it, and B, take action. And as one of the panelists spoke in the session that I attended, the person you're looking for to create the change you want to see is you. It's that simple. And how you prepare yourself to take action is to educate yourself and to really find something that is your cup in this big problem called structural institutional racism, which at its root is hate. And so it's very possible for us to change the world if we realize that individually, we are part of that change. And so I really want you to know that it's very possible for this change that we're seeking to happen. And as you look in our own community, despite the horrific knowledge we just received and what happened to Daniel and his family, it has brought together communities within Rochester in ways I've never seen in my 30 years I've lived in the United States and 20 plus I've lived here in Rochester. And I believe that that is the critical mass of people that care enough to act to create the kind of change that we want to see. And so we just want to thank you for being with us here today. And on behalf of Carolyn, myself, the entire Levine Center Steering Committee members, to thank you for giving us your time today. And we are going to ask you to give your time to our community to create the change we want to see. And with that, I'll turn it over to Karen.
Thank you so much, Kevin and Carolyn. Again, I want to thank all of you for being with us here today and really walking through the door. It's the start of a conversation. We have much to do. I want to also take a moment to express gratitude to my family because they have been so supportive of me when I was not so available to them. And so I just want to give them my gratitude for being there for me as we were organizing this event. Thank you all. You'll get an evaluation. Please do complete it. It will give us more information. And please continue to check out our website, endhaterock.org. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful afternoon. I look forward to seeing you in future programs. Take good care. Bye-bye.